I want to talk about how we could fit a line, a best fit, to some data, like a scatter plot. Now, this is for an algebra course, and this is kind of an introduction to how we would do this and kind of an easy way to eyeball it. If you're looking for something with like regression for a stats class, like how you can calculate that, I'll link that in this video as well. But this, again, is kind of an introduction, like for a general person, how would you do this? What would be a good way to make a line of best fit and to do a prediction? So the first thing I would say, and you can just take a look at the context of the problem here. We've got the temperature effect on ice cream sales. The idea here is that the higher the temperature is, see it in Celsius here, the more sales this company will make. And if I were to think about like drawing a line, I think I could make a case that I could draw a nice line through here to make some predictions. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I just used my ruler and I just drew a line as best I could, and here it is. And I think this is a pretty nice fit. Again, there are other ways to calculate this you might learn about in like statistics or something. Now, I'm going to just find 2 points that I think look like they actually fit my coordinate system. And what I mean by that is down here, if I were to look at like this point, I'd say, geez, 12 on the x-axis and 200 on the y-axis. That looks pretty much like a real point that's on my line. Another one might be right here. So 22 on the x and 500 on the y. Those look like 2 points that are on my line. Now, if it doesn't work exactly in yours, just estimate. You know, you could say like, okay, 14 and maybe 260. Just do your best job estimating those coordinates. And maybe you have a smaller grid or a smaller set of data and it's easier. But once you have 2 points, it's easy to make a line. The first thing we need to do after we draw our line and find our points are find the slope. So remember, the slope formula is the difference in the y's divided by the difference in the x's. So let me do that right over here. Let me just find the difference between my 2 y values and do the difference in the x values. Now, if you chose to do the opposite like order, you did 200 minus 500 and 12 minus 22, you get exactly the same answer. So no problem there. Let's see, we get 300 on the top and we get 10 on the bottom. So this calculation comes out to be 30. From that point, I'm going to use point slope form. So remember, point slope form, I'm going to abbreviate it, point slope is y equals the slope and then x minus an x coordinate plus the y part of that coordinate. So again, these two, this represents the slope right here, and this represents the coordinates, or a coordinate. I'm going to pick, it doesn't matter which one I pick, but I'm going to pick this first coordinate right here, okay? So my slope was 30, so I'm going to have y equals 30, and then I'm going to have x minus the x part of my point plus the y part of my point, okay? And that is my line. And the purpose of doing that is to predict. So now at this point I could say, well, you know, I don't have any data up, but what if it were really hot? What if we had a 28-degree day Celsius? Well, if I had a 28-degree day, I could simply plug in 28 for my temperature and calculate that and figure out where up here that would go. And I could calculate. Or on the other hand, if I said, you know, I don't have any data for real cold days, what if it was 10? Well, I could plug 10 in and predict. That's the point of coming up with these equations, or to use them for predicting. So let me just run through this again. And let me reiterate, if you are looking for something about regression, least squares regression for statistics, or a more kind of a bigger explanation of how to do this, or a more in-depth way of doing it, I will link other videos. But just generally, if you draw your line, start with that. Just draw a line in that you think fits the data. put on 2 points. You can make them up. You could even try and, draw your line that hits 2 exact points in your scatter plot. I just picked 2 points that kind of hit like an actual, part of my coordinate system. I labeled my points, and from there, I'm off and running. I found the slope between the 2 points I found, and then I picked one of those points. You could pick either one, which one isn't important, and I made my point slope line with that point. And then you can use that line for any kind of predictions or figuring out interior values, things like that you might want. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe. I have whole playlists on geometry, algebra, calculus, statistics.